Hello, welcome to God is a Geek video chat. We are talking about Spider-Man's second piece of DLC, Turf Wars. And Adam, you've been playing it?
Yeah, it's kind of more of the same.
Yeah, I figured it might be. I mean, there's kind of like an arc with this DLC, isn't there, between
massively
characters? Yeah. So, I mean, this story focuses on Hammerhead and Yuri Watanabe.
Mm-hmm.
How is the story without spoiling anything? But does it work?
I don't think this one works as well as the last one. Have you played the first one? I think you have, haven't you? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So with the first one, it ends like to be continued, and this one does the same. However, and this is not a spoiler because I'm not going to go into details, at the end of this one, after the to be continued and you get the credits, there's actually another cutscene. And it does one of these things, these little story things that's a bugbear of mine, in that it completely undoes everything you've just seen. And I don't really understand why, because I feel like after playing this, again, without spoiling, the way the heist DLC, the first one, ends, it's kind of... although they are linked, it's kind of also separate. And this felt like that until you get this kind of post-credit scene. It's like, oh, okay. Although they're showing Hammerhead as like the focus of this DLC, it is actually Yuri that is the main story focus. I think, personally, it's her arc. And it's a little bit odd because, you know, if you think about the Marvel Spider-Man as a game without DLC, she's in it. You know, and she crops up in cutscenes, and she's in a lot of the phone stuff. Yeah, I don't feel there's an awful lot of character development for her, aside the kind of Spider Cop thing that she eventually gets on board with. But I don't really feel like there's an awful lot of development for her character. No, and yet in this they cram all of that development in, and I don't quite buy it, if I'm honest with you.
And I'm assuming it's quite a short DLC again. So,
well, you see, here's the thing, right? So the first DLC, I'd not long platinumed the game, so I was kind of like in the mode of I really enjoyed that, but I was also in the mode of I've done all this stuff that I think by now everyone is in agreement. There are elements of that game that I don't want to say grindy, but some of the crimes. You've sort of had your fill of them by the time you've platinumed that game. Yeah. And so with the first DLC, the heist, I kind of did everything again. I got 100% completion. I'm not going to do that with this one. I feel like its tricks are running out a little bit, and it's maybe too much Spider-Man. Yeah. I mean, by the time of the DLC, you feel like it's kind of... There's not a lot else it can do. You know, it's got what it's got in place, and that's great. But then, like, there are some mechanics that are kind of trying to be evolved and stuff like that. But like with Turf Wars, how are the mechanics? Are there anything new? Like, or is it just kind of minor tweaks on old features? Again, like if you've played the first DLC, you kind of know what you're getting. There are sort of small additions. So, for example, there is a new enemy type that has a shield. I will say it actually starts, because the thing I find about this game is every time you come back to it, you almost need a kind of refresher. Like your first half an hour is like getting used to all of the fighting stuff. This one, if you do, like the first fight is a big fight, lots of it, and it's like, wow, okay, shit, you know. They kind of... So there's a new enemy that's got a shield, and there's also like they kind of reuse mechanics. So I'd almost forgotten they were in them, because one of the first things I did when I played the main game was, the police towers, we had to sort of tune into the radio frequencies of the two sticks. Yeah. I did them all immediately, and you kind of don't do that again. So in this, there's like a section where you're controlling a spider bot again to get information, and you have to go up to people, and you've got like this... Yet another one of his gadgets where he can tune the frequency in on the spider bot to isolate chat, and it's the same mechanic, like get the waveforms the right thing. Right, now, I will say I would rather that than more kind of the puzzles that sort of seeped into the open world. But it is very much, you know, there's another bit where you have to find someone, and you have to get inside a sort of bubble and hold down triangle to scan. Very, very minor new elements, but. Yeah, I don't know. I just... part of me wonders if... Do you remember how Bloodborne was supposed to have 2 pieces of DLC, and what they did in the end was they just made one big one?
Yes.
They sort of crammed it together. Part of me kind of wishes that what they'd done with this is made one Spider-Man DLC, didn't add in all the extraneous stuff, and just made it like a 3-chapter story, like some more... Because I find, like, at this point now, I don't want to do any more crimes. I just don't. And a lot of that stuff... I don't know if it's a case of you can tell it's DLC, but because you are playing it as a separate DLC. But some of the main missions in this one have got, like, you know, the crime stuff where you stop a car, essentially.
Yes.
Like, some of those are in main missions now.
Right.
And again, I think a lot of people platinumed this game. I think it's one of the most platinum games you're going to know this year for sure. And I feel like if you did that and DLC 1, DLC 2, it's like I found myself a bit kind of like I've had my fill of doing those crime things. And to add to that, they've also brought back Screwball. Which was the bit I liked the least about the Heist DLC. And that's back again. And I literally started the first one, and the first one where you to sort of... Because again, it's like the first DLC. The main mission takes you to the location and tells you this is what it is, and there's one to do right away. And that one was like, had an insta-fail section, and it's like, I don't want to do any more of these Screwball challenges.
No, I was kind of hoping for something more, because like the challenges in the main game, the Taskmaster challenges are quite enjoyed, and they don't go on forever, but there's a nice diversity in them. And then you got a kind of a side mission with Screwball, but obviously in the last DLC it was a big part of the challenges. I was kind of hoping we'd see some other kind of line of challenges that include someone else or something else, but it just seems like it's more of the same.
It is very much so, and I don't know if this is just a case of too much of a good thing, but like some of the conversations that Spider-Man had... Well, you know how he has conversations with himself as he's sort of slinging around? Yeah. So in this, like, they keep... Miles Morales keeps ringing you up, like, I think 3 times during the main story, and I kept thinking, are we going to get a bit... You don't. Yeah. And it's like, I'm sure you will... Or maybe you won't. I don't know. I'm guessing they're saving it for the 3rd one. I don't know. It just feels like it's leading somewhere. But some of the conversations he has with himself. So again, I'm not going to spoil, but Yuri has something happen that like is emotionally draining to her, and Spider-Man keeps talking to himself like, oh, God, I can't let her down. You know, I've got to stop letting her down. And it's like I don't buy it, because. You've played through the main campaign where the guy saves the place, you know, he saves everyone and everything, and it's like, all of a sudden he's like, oh, no, I've let him down. It's like, I don't know that you have, man. Like, this was not a thing you could have predicted, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, there's a boss fight, it's alright, it's certainly not the most memorable one. There's a lot of stuff in this DLC that feels like it's timed, like, you know, clear people out, but also then get rid of the bombs, and I feel like it... I don't know, I'm a bit concerned about the third pick. I don't dislike it, because ultimately this is still a very good game. Like, we all really liked Marvel Spider-Man.
Yeah, of course.
I get why this wasn't in the main game. I feel like a big part of why I preferred the Heist to Turf Wars is the character of Black Cat. Yeah. I felt like that whole thing was more interesting than what they're trying to do with this story. It's, you know, if you're in... You've already played the first one, you're kind of in, aren't you? I just think if you haven't yet... If you platinum Spider-Man, there's a lot of Spider-Man you've played. Maybe see how the 3rd one turns out.
Yeah, and just play them all at the same time.
And I would even say, unless you are really desperate to be like, I must get all the trophies, I don't think I've got it in me to go and get all the mop up the trophies in this one. I've seen the story. I think I'm had enough... You know, it's a couple of hours. I think I've had enough of that, and I'll play the next one. You know, I think I'm. I don't know. It feels like a lot of Spider-Man. You know.
I think so soon after it's kind of come out. Like maybe wait a few months and play them all together when you've got that hankering to go back in. But it is a bit of a slog. Yeah, going back and trying to get all the trophies for the DLC.
Like Spider-Man is still great game, and the Heist I enjoyed. This one didn't quite catch me. I don't know, I just sort of don't... You know, I did the story and I'm happy enough that I've done it. I don't think it was brilliant, it was just okay. And, like, the rest of it, it's like, I don't... It's a very personal thing. I just don't want to do any more crimes right now, you know?
Yeah, of course. Well, if you enjoyed the video, you can watch lots more on our YouTube channel. Go and click subscribe. You can also back us on Patreon at patreon.com/GodIsAGeek. Adam, thanks for joining me.
Cheers, mate.
And thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.